So, my dear friends, you asked me to speak a while on the culture of encounter. And I would like to start with a quotation of Pope Francis in Evangelii Gaudium. You know, Evangelii Gaudium, when we speak with the teaching, about the teaching of Pope Francis, we have the daily homilies made by Pope Francis every day, and they are beautiful because you can pick up just few things immediately. The language is immediate, and you can understand immediately his own idea. But essentially, we have two documents, official documents, written by Pope Francis. The first one is a first encyclical, Lumen Fidei. Lumen Fidei, it was written, as Pope Francis said, with four hands, because the first writing, Lumen Fidei, was Pope Benedict during the Year of Faith. And then we know the event, and Pope Francis said, well, I want to publish anyway the encyclical of Pope Francis. He modified, of course, because the signature belongs to him. He modified the text, but we cannot say that belongs to Pope Francis. The only document until today that really truly belongs to him, and this is a programmatic exhortation, is Evangelii Gaudium. And he wrote this text after October 2012, in which, as you can remember, there was a synod on new evangelization and transmission of faith. So the text, the true text of Pope Francis is Evangelii Gaudium. Everything from him, from his experience, from his understanding, and also for the future of his pontificate, we can find in this text. So he wrote under number 8. It is thanks to this encounter with the love of God, which is transformed into a friendship of happiness, that we are ransomed from our own unknowledge as isolated and as self-referential. We attain to the condition of being fully human only when we are more than human, when we allow God to lead us beyond ourselves, so that we may reach our true being. This is the source of evangelizing activity. Because if people have accepted this love, which gives them in return the meaning of life, how can they contain the desire to communicate it to others? I would like to start from this quotation because it is very clear, and it is in the condition to create some considerations of culture of encounter. Because the first question is culture of encounter to meet whom? Culture of encounter, why? What is the goal of the encounter? There is two main questions that are on the table, and I would like to answer with the teaching of Pope Francis. First of all, to meet whom? I would say, starting from the quotation, first of all, to meet God and His love and His mercy. This is the first approach, because Pope Francis puts in relationship faith and love. On the first place, my dear friends, there is this relationship between faith and love. And probably the originality of what Pope Francis wishes to communicate lies in these two words, faith and love, and cannot be different, because faith and love are the content of our scholarship and discipleship to Jesus Christ. We believe, we trust in Him, and we love Him. But in order to understand better the relationship between faith and love, Pope Francis tells us that love generates faith, and faith sustains love. The beginning comes from love. I recall the text of the first letter to Peter, the beginning, the letter of Peter, chapter 1. Happy are you, because you love Him without sin. You love without sin. This is the context of our faith. We don't see Him, but we love Him. And for this reason we are blessed. There is the light of faith because there is the light of love. And for this reason, Pope Francis teaches us to take before the reasons of the intelligence, the reasons of the heart. Don't forget that, my dear friends, because if we want to understand the concept of evangelization by Pope Francis, we need to underline these aspects. First of all are the reasons of the heart. Pascal is my former student at Gregorian from France. Les raisons du cœur, les raisons du cœur. We need to take and to underline. There is not just the reasons of our mind, of our intelligence. There is the reasons of the heart. The person who loves is the person who first of all gives the reasons of love. On the other hand, if we want to catch in a coherent way the mystery of our faith, that means the mystery of incarnation of the Son of God, we need to underline love. This is the originality of our faith. God comes to us. And for this reason is Lumen Fidei 31, to touch with the heart. This is to believe. Interesting. To touch with the heart. To touch. Because faith is to touch. To encounter is to see, to touch someone. It's not theoretical. The encounter is not theoretical. The encounter is interpersonal encounter. To touch with the heart is to believe. We should take the expression of the blessed John Henry Newman. In an encounter, cor ad cor loquitur. In an encounter, heart speaks to the heart. To become one single heart. Beautiful. beautiful. If we want to reach the nature of the encounter, the heart should be able to speak to another heart. Because you have the inside, immediately you touch the heart of someone. What does it mean for the evangelization? In which way this first understanding of the encounter, of the culture of the encounter, becomes evangelization? It seems to me that Pope Francis says that we need, first of all, to recognize that the priority of this encounter comes from God, not from ourselves. But this is the originality of our faith. Gratia facit fidem. Grace performs our faith. You know, in all the religions in this world, all the human attempt, the starting point is human. Because there is inside, in the deepest of ourselves, there is a desire to know the transcendence. But Christianity, it means first of all that God comes to us. He wants to stay with us. It is beautiful in this horizon to recall to mind the teaching of the Council with the Constitution on Revelation. Dei Verbum, the Word of God. God comes to us. He wants to stay with us. He is not in a hurry. Absolutely. He wants to stay with us. Long time. All the time necessary. This is the priority of God in our life. When we think, my dear friends, that is our own conquest, is our own duty to evangelize, we should stop for a while and say, probably I am wrong. It's not my first. First is God. Because when you go to encounter someone, God was already by him or her. God precedes our deed, our action of evangelization. And this is what Pope Francis wrote. There is a neologism. He created a new word to express that. Number 24 of Evangelii Gaudium. Primerear. It doesn't exist in the dictionary of Spanish, primerear. Doesn't exist. He invents the word, the verb in this case. Primerear. To take the initiative. Please, writes the Pope, excuse me for this neologism. The community of evangelization experiences that the fact that the Lord has taken the initiative has come before them in love, and therefore it is able to take the first step without fear, to go out, to make and to search for those who are far away, and to go to the crossroads to invite those who are marginalized. The action of primeria of God in our life. Second step, how can be a true encounter? According to Pope Francis, it seems to me that If we want to encounter truly the face of God, because this is the first encounter, we need contemplation. Contemplation is in the first place. I remember when last July 2013, the year of faith, and we were together with seminarians, sisters, nuns, so all vocations. So it was a day for vocation. At the end of these days, the Pope Francis celebrated the Holy Mass in St. Peter's, and he said, "My dear friends, don't forget, never forget, evangelization is made on our knees." What does it mean? Kneeling. Normally we think that, and also he continues to say to us, go out, go out, go out, and then evangelization is made kneeling. There is a contradiction? Not at all, not at all. Contemplation is the beginning of true evangelization. The primacy of contemplation over action. So we cannot run in vain like the apostles in the chapter 2 of Galatians on the road of evangelization. And for this reason it is necessary to focus on what is essential. And essential, my dear friends, is to keep our gaze fixed on the face of Jesus Christ. If evangelization means, first of all, to share our own experience of meeting Jesus, first of all, we need time to stay with Him. In silence, listening to Him. This is contemplation. Listening. Are we able to do silence in our life? What does it mean, silence? What does it mean, silence? If now, I would say, please, we can stay 1 minute in silence. 1 minute in silence. Do you know what does it mean, 1 minute in silence? We know silences on the plural. We don't know the greatness of silence as such. Silence comes before our language, before everything. Is the end of our language. If there is no silence, we could not also be able to speak and to learn to speak. The nature. You know, when you are a child, you can learn to speak just because you are listening to. And if someone is unable to listen to, cannot also speak. Cannot. It doesn't mean that he is without voice. Has voice, but cannot hearing, cannot also learn the words, the speaking. How can we speak on Jesus Christ if you don't listen to Him? This is the question. And my dear friends, this is not rhetoric at all. This is our Christian life. Which place takes the spirituality in our life? The primacy of contemplation over action. I quote Pope Francis. sitting before Him with our hearts open, allowing Him to contemplate us. Beautiful. Allow Him, Jesus, to contemplate us. Both. Heart speaks to heart. We recognize that the gaze of love that Nathanael discovered on the day when Jesus Christ introduced Himself to him and said to him, I saw you under the fig tree. Though what takes place in the end is that which we have seen and what we have heard, we proclaim. What we proclaim, my dear friends, ourselves, or what we have seen, what we have heard in doing the contemplation. So there is an urgent need to recover the spirit of contemplation that allows us to discover each day that we are the depositaries of a good news. You will tell me now, well, if this is the starting point, if this is the true way for evangelization, in which way I can meet my brothers and sisters, the others, to share what I heard. Pope Francis speaks on mysticism of fraternity. Not just fraternity, not just solidarity, the mysticism of fraternity. We are not in a so generalized form of fraternity, deprived of any reference to God. We are not on the pure level of immanent and social commitment. This is a brotherhood rediscovered in Jesus Christ. For this reason, there is the true and deepest humanity. Once again, Pope Francis, Evangelii Gaudium number 87. Today, when the networks and the instruments of communication have attained unheard of levels of development, we feel the challenge of discovery and of transmitting the mysticism of living together, of mixing with each other, of meeting each other, and of taking each other in our arms, of supporting each other, of sharing in this rather chaotic time that can be transformed into a true experience of fraternity, into a caravan of solidarity, into a holy pilgrimage. So, if we are able to contemplate the Word of God, His face, then we become able of contemplating the people of God in a coherent way. In a coherent way. In short, the culture of encounter for a new evangelization, it means that we recognize the signs of the presence of God in our own personal history. We know how to discern. We know how to be able to transform the world in the light of the gospel. And then what we share in our encounter, if this is the encounter, if this is the mysticism of fraternity, what we share with people, I would say, first of all, we share our history, what we are, disciples. And because we are disciples, in the nature itself of discipleship, there is to be evangelizer. We tell to people our history, what we are, disciples. Nothing less than that. Believers, people who love God. But that means our commitment to the world. Because to be disciples of Jesus Christ oblige every Christian to assume the responsibility for transforming the world. And for this reason, I would like to remember three words of Pope Francis. March 14th, 2013. The first speech, the first homily of the new Pope. He said three verbs in order to make understandable his pontificate. To walk, to build, to confess. To walk, to build, to confess. I think that our path of evangelization should take these three verbs in a very serious way. To walk with people of today. We are not alone. A believer is never alone. He is always with a community. How can we be this community? How can we be this church? The sense of belonging to the church in a world where there is an individualism so strong, we proclaim the necessity to be a community. Think about that. This is something concretely new for a culture, because the culture of today is closing people in himself. And we say, this is not the salvation. This is not the plan of salvation for you. This is not humanity. If you want to be truly human, you need to belong to someone. The sense of the community. When we walk on the path of this world, we are never alone. But we need to walk. And to walk, it means to go out. And to go out means to encounter people. And they are not like me. And the first is not to judge people. The first is to meet people, to stay with people, to understand people, to build. To build, it means, my dear friends, to be able to create a new science of salvation. Last September, we had, as a new evangelization, international meeting, 2,000 people. And then Pope Francis came and said to these people, around 60 different countries, and we was there. And Pope Francis said, I ask you to be able to read the signs of times, to read the signs of the time in this moment, in the light of the gospel. My dear friends, we have the responsibility to read the signs of the times. That means the signs of the presence of God among us, because these are the signs of time. The presence of God among us is not far away, absolutely. He is performing among us and through us, together with us. But the second task, it is also to create new signs for the evangelization. That's not enough to read. We need to build, to create. And to create signs, it means to give a completely understanding to our preaching. Like the apostles, like the first community. When we read the second chapter of the Act of the Apostles, what we find? The apostles, they preached Jesus Christ, the salvation of Jesus Christ, and then they said, come with us, we celebrate the Eucharist, because this is the sign that Jesus Christ performs for us the salvation. And then the signs, another sign was, no one was in need in the community. Can you see? The word were accompanied by deeds. Salvation, no one is in need. Salvation, this is the salvation, Holy Eucharist. It's not just a promise. Normally we say we need to be evangelizers with joy. Give a sign of joy. Give sign of joy. I remember 2012. I was in a center of new evangelization in the state, in the US. Beautiful center of new evangelization. And then around the table, I spoke with several people, and then a young man, he said, Father, I will be baptized next Easter. I said, well, I'm very happy. And tell me your story. And he told me, well, I come from a Jewish family. And I cross every day this center, and I saw people so happy. And I said, why they are happy? I want to understand why they are happy. And I came. And here I am. Now I will become Catholic like all of these my friends. Beautiful. Beautiful. This is a sign. This is a sign. This is a witness. Witness. And joy is not just something psychologically. Joy doesn't mean I am smiling all the day. Joy is I met Jesus Christ. Everything is done. everything. He changed my life. He changed my life. I can change now the world because he changed my life. Third, to confess. What we need to confess, Pope Francis tells us, before confessing doctrine, it is necessary to profess the merciful love of God. Mercy is becoming the word which defines the pontificate of Pope Francis. Mercy. I am merciful. This is the expression, the first expression in the book of Exodus. Before I am who I am, there is I am merciful. This is the nature of God. He's like a father, merciful. Take all the parables in the gospel. Father going to his son. The heresy was to the father. This son say, give to me, give to me, give to me what belongs to me. I'm still living. I gave, take. It's your responsibility. One day will be your, you want before, take it. Even with that, he ran to his son. He goes out to convince the second son, come, everything belongs to you. Mercy is precious. How many things we should confess, but the essential of our confession of faith is mercy. Listen to number 24 of Pope Francis. The Church lives from an inexhaustible desire to offer mercy, the fruit of having experienced the infinite mercy of the Father. We can be able to be witnesses of mercy if, first of all, we experience the mercy to us. We are able to give pardon to the other if we have the experience to be pardoned by God. If we are not in first person, the experience of something, of someone, it is really very hard, my dear friend, to communicate the same experience to the other. It will be something theoretical, no concrete. So let me say the last word. Do not let anyone rob us of the joy of evangelization. I think that this is what we receive from the teaching of Evangelii Gaudium, on this experience of an encounter with God. Do not let anyone rob us the joy of evangelization. My dear friends, this is also what I ask in the prayer for everybody present in this hall, and also for everybody who belongs to the different associations that you are present here. No